Hello, everyone. Thanks for attending. I'm Sarah Ailes, Director of Sales at Digital Wave.
And I'm Monique Parrott, National Account Executive with Digital Wave. We're a web agency that specializes in working with higher ed and not for profit healthcare organizations. Our specialty is ensuring that our clients' sites are focused on their end users' needs while balancing the right use of technology to get the job done. We're so glad you joined us for this short take topic on taking an evolutionary approach to improving your website. Now, moving mountains is expensive and a lot of hard work. Our team has been working with higher education institutions to redesign their website for almost 2 decades. While much has changed, some processes have remained stagnant. Procurement. Now, most of us in this room have been through a redesign or several in our careers, and we know the process can feel like you're trying to move a mountain. Technology and end users' expectations of the web are constantly evolving. So, why aren't we changing how we approach managing and maintaining our institutional websites? Currently, most institutions plan very slim ongoing budgets related to maintaining their websites and large capital funded redesign budgets when absolutely necessary. Waiting this long makes it difficult to keep up with industry standards. What's more overwhelming is that the work needed to catch your site up to those standards and improve it to meet your team's wish list becomes a mountain. It will take longer than you want. The effort is huge on your internal teams and your vendor, and you end up needing more money than the institution wants to budget. When you wait anywhere from 5 to 10 years between redesigns, how long would it take to complete that effort? 1 year? 2 years? How about more? During that redesign, if you're not making incremental changes to the live site, you're committing to living with existing issues for the duration of the project. Meanwhile, prospective students are still sifting through your outdated site, using it to decide if you'll be one of their top contenders. Judging your institution to determine if you're worth scheduling an on site tour. Are they able to find the relevant information they need? Is your current content painting a good picture of what being part of your institution is like? During the redesign, how overloaded is your team? Are they able to keep up with normal web maintenance processes? There is a better way.
Let's look at how to evolve your mindset to embrace a smoother process. A process that smooths those peaks out into foothills. In an evolutionary approach, you'll tackle elements that are traditionally part of a redesign as smaller, separate, or ongoing efforts. You do so over time, making the work more manageable and spreading out expenses. This approach results in immediate, incremental, and continuous changes. You can stop waiting for the next redesign to fix everything. Rolling out a plan that works for your institution could go several ways. Most importantly, it should focus on tackling the most critical or impactful projects first. You'll want to spread the work out in a way that is manageable and focuses on balancing available resources with priority and budget. These changes can be launched incrementally with little disruption to end users and without the need for the stressful everything must be perfect launch cycle. You might even get to skip the dreaded all hands on deck content migration process. Now, if it's already been 10 years since your last overhaul, you may need to do one more. It's okay. Focus the redesign on addressing your most important needs up front and allow for some less critical work to happen post-launch. This sets the tone for ongoing incremental changes and allows you to roll right into the evolutionary process. It's still going to be a lot of work, but now it's an ongoing process. You can plan for it. Your team can balance it. It's obtainable. Now let's talk about how this could play out. As I said, it's going to be unique for each institution. But as an example, if your CMS is outdated, but mostly working for your organization, you should consider tackling that upgrade. It will ensure that your site is secure, up-to-date, and supported. It may even offer you access to new functionality and features that you haven't been able to take advantage of yet in your CMS. This can be done without rolling out a new user interface, which makes it much quicker than a redesign. It might be as small as a 40-hour task, or it could take a few months depending on how many versions you need to upgrade. Now, if your users are complaining that they can't find key information, perform a user test to investigate why. Then immediately launch into an effort to correct it. You may find that the fix is as simple as renaming navigational labels in a way that makes more sense to your key user types. You can even launch a second user test to confirm that your fix solved it. If you don't already have one in place, adopt an ongoing content process with goals that your team can handle. This is key. Content should be reviewed to ensure that it is accurate, relevant, performing well, and on brand. If content is outdated, it should be updated or retired. If it's performing badly, it should be reworked or potentially moved somewhere better that people can find it. And of course, key pages should be on brand with current messaging. Now that we've talked about how the evolutionary process could work, do you want to see a real-life example? Yeah, I knew you'd want to see it. Salus University is a great example of adopting the evolutionary process. We first started working with them in 2015. At that time, we worked on a redesign and helped them adopt their first content management system. Over the years, we've worked together to adjust the user interface to accommodate changing trends in design and changes in Salus's overall structure. We widened the framework of the pages to account for wider screens and making use of larger images. When the university consolidated from 5 colleges down to 3, we worked with them to restructure the homepage program feature. There was also a sizable content effort to relocate content from the 4th and 5th colleges into the remaining ones. While some pages were relocated, others needed to be merged and reworked to avoid redundancy. Since then, we've done several smaller efforts here and there to give them additional components and smaller updates to both the homepage and overall page trappings. Salus wanted to call more attention to giving options, so we helped them adjust the donate button to stand out more. They also needed a way to draw attention to signature events, so we helped them create a panel that was aimed at highlighting these important events. There was a need for other prominent calls to action that may change through the year. For this, we introduced another feature panel that would stand out as unique from the events panel. As their social media presence grew and they became more active, there was a desire to include social media on the website. We helped them create a panel that would allow social media feeds. Each of these panels can be added, removed, and moved around to suit their needs. This increased their homepage flexibility by a ton. Most recently, we performed a CMS upgrade over summer 2021. To the end users, this didn't make any difference, but it ensured that Salus's website remained secure, up to date, and on a version of their CMS that's supported by the CMS vendor. Why evolve? Moving mountains is impossible. Why do we keep trying to do it? The current redesign process of throwing everything out and starting from scratch is extremely inefficient. It's expensive, and it overloads our web teams beyond capacity. If you adopt an evolutionary approach, you won't need to start over every 5 to 7 years. When you can spread the spending out, you're more likely to get your institution on board with giving you an annual budget rather than begging for capital funds years later than you'd hoped for. What happens when we wait 10 years to do a redesign? The amount of work needed to overhaul your site is extensive. The emotions around the project are high, and the pressure to get it perfect is immense. Spreading the work out ensures that your website will remain updated and relevant. Suddenly, you've created molehills out of that mountain. You'll be able to pace the work in a way that your team can better handle and afford, which may eliminate the need for short-term hires often needed during surge projects.
Now, all of this is great, right? But how do you really make it work? By investing a smaller budget over time, you will be able to address needs as they arise, to prevent expensive overhauls and protect the shelf life of your investment. The earliest signs of neglect are often subtle and escape the notice of most to recognize them. Now, herein lies a major element of the problem. It is difficult in times of tight budgets and competing demands for resources to convince leadership that neglect can lead to a loss of enrollment and/or recruitment. We seem to need a disaster to focus our attention and motivate action. We can avoid the huge website redesign by making a greater commitment to prevention and evolution. This way of thinking is consistent with how your institution maintains the campus. They automatically allocate an appropriate budget for routine maintenance and repair. They are proactive in their thoughts because they cannot wait for something to happen. Colleges and universities budget 2 to 4% of their current replacement value of those facilities for annual maintenance. So let's be prepared for the inevitable by actually allocating a budget through the years to allow preventive maintenance and evolution to your website. We don't need our buildings to be falling apart before we repair them, and you should not want your website to be outdated before you change it. Remember, progress is impossible without change. If you demonstrate the value of an evolutionary approach, you can change their perspective. We don't believe it will be as hard to convince leadership as you may be thinking. It still may take some time, but as we covered, they're already funding other areas of the institution in this way. Help them make that connection. First, be sure you understand who you need to show a new approach to. Would they need to show it to someone above them? What questions do they typically ask? What formats do they best ingest new information in? You'll need to understand this to have a strong impact. Meanwhile, start outlining the work you and your team believe is needed on your website, and then looking at how that could be stretched over a few fiscal years. Identify where your team can handle the tasking versus where you need outside support. Account for expenses like CMS license upgrades, the integration of new tools, and any other resources you might need. Don't forget to plan for refining, retiring, and creation of new content to support current marketing efforts and messaging. Do your research. You'll need to be able to back up your plan. Now, put that plan into a format you believe will get their attention and understanding. Be sure you show a plan that accounts for more than 1 year. You need to show them how this can be annualized. You're asking for an ongoing budget, not a capital expenditure. Make sure your plan also points out the benefits. Show them how this will avoid risk and save time and money. Quantify where you can. Lead with facts, not feelings. Present your proposal with confidence. And remember, you're proposing your institution invest in never having a terrible website again. With an evolutionary approach, you can maintain and protect the quality of your investment. And most importantly, you can stop trying to move mountains. So remember, it's not about change. It's about evolution.